Hi and welcome. My name's Rob Scott from UC Today, and in this session we'll be running through some of the latest and greatest news headlines. So today I'm joined by David Dungay, Editor-in-Chief, who will be talking us through some of the news headlines. So welcome, David.
Hi Rob, how are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Episode 2, very much looking forward to this.
Yeah, right. Let's get into some surveys first of all. Following on from last week's big question with BT and Facebook Workplace. If you didn't see that story, make sure you go back and have a look. Workplace deployed 85,000 seats into BT, which is a huge deal. But off the back of that news story, we had a big question. Are you using your collaboration tools for your social interactions at work? We do at UC Today. We know some other people do, but we really wanted to find out who was doing this and why. So we asked the question on LinkedIn, and we got a huge response. So let's go through those results. 50% of you never use your collaboration tools at work for social interactions, which is really interesting. 26% sometimes, and then 23%, which is the camp we fall into, is often. Rob, what does it all mean?
Well, exactly. That is the question, isn't it? I mean, as we continue to blur the lines between home life and work life, will companies, allow this kind of thing, social interaction on their collaboration tools? I suppose as you kind of move up towards the enterprise, compliance and regulations and things like that get a little bit more complex. But maybe small businesses are quite comfortable with it. I mean, as are we chat quite regularly about what we're doing at the weekends, I know, but I think it's just a big question mark. So the survey was interesting results, but certainly it's not going to stop me from kind of chatting away to my colleagues on Microsoft Teams or whatever application going forward.
Absolutely. I think the big message there is, there's clearly a requirement for this type of interaction at work. We're all human beings. We all have other things going on. And part of the downfall, I guess, of remote working is you do miss out on some of that interaction with your co-workers, which is, I think, is really important. So onwards and upwards. Let's go to our next story on the Magic Quadrant. Rob, take us through that one.
Yeah, so Magic Quadrant month. So it's always a bit of a surprise when it comes through because it's not always exactly the same date. But about a week ago, Gartner released their Magic Quadrant for CCaaS, so Contact Center as a Service or Cloud Contact Center Solutions in 2020. So this is a review that's kind of done of all the kind of leading players in the CCaaS market. Now, lots of action in the CCaaS space right now, and this Magic Quadrant really is a pretty good representation of the kind of leaders, the movers and the shakers in that marketplace. So bit of upset this year though. Essentially what Gartner did was consolidate 2 Magic Quadrants. So they had a North American edition and they had a Western Europe edition, and decided this year to put them together. So you've got a bit of a mix of vendors. So you've got some North American and Western European vendors. But as a result, the criteria slightly changed. So if you're a North American vendor like Five9, doing really, really well in the kind of top right-hand corner last year of the MQ, but you don't have the seats in Western Europe, which Five9 don't have quite as many, or they didn't quite make the grade, they actually got shunted back into the top left-hand corner and marked as a challenger rather than a leader. Now that did cause a bit of a stir. Naturally, if I was Five9, I'd be a little bit upset too, because it does that really, truly represent Five9's capability in doing business in the Western market, in the Western European market. So, what do you think, David?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, clearly, Gartner have done this. They've consolidated the geographic regions into one. They say from demand. I'm not sure. It's probably not demand from Five9. That's for sure. But that's what we've got, and I'm sure Five9s aren't too happy about it. But there we are. I mean, the interesting thing is we've obviously got a UCaaS Magic Quadrant out, which they released at the same time. This is a very exciting quadrant, I feel. We see Microsoft now in the top right-hand corner, above Ring Central, which I think in the last iteration it was a reverse story. So this is big news. The other big news is Zoom. They have landed officially in the top right-hand corner of the Magic Quadrant just after 2 years since they've launched the Zoom phone. So, Rob, give us some insight into that.
It's an interesting one. So, all the expected players on the UCaaS Magic Quadrant this year, I think. However, Zoom landing was a bit of a surprise. They've met the numbers. They've expanded globally. The Zoom phone, their UCaaS kind of telephony phone system proposition, is now available in more than 40 countries. It's got more than 400 features, and it's a real contender in the UC space. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more from Zoom, and Zoom Phone. It's a very exciting kind of platform and brand right now. So definitely one to watch going forward.
Yeah. So Rob, what's up next?
Well, we said we'd talk about my blog on how I save 48% off my Microsoft Teams bill. So it's a bit of an interesting one because I've been on a bit of a journey with Microsoft Teams since 2017. This is a personal story. Running UC today, completely virtually, digitally, from day one. We decided to jump on Skype for Business online to start with. And within a few months of starting in 2017, Microsoft Teams launched. And so we were an early adopter of Microsoft Teams. But to get Microsoft Teams phone system, we had to be an E3 or E5 enterprise kind of licensed customer, which was a bit of an ask for such a small business of just a handful of people. But lo and behold, Microsoft Teams worked out to be a great collaboration platform for the business. And we had very simple phone system requirements. So I'm not going to go through the whole blog. You've got to read this. To really qualify yourself into this blog. If you're in a situation where you signed up to those enterprise licenses earlier on, just to get access to Microsoft Teams and its phone system capabilities, there is now a business voice edition available from Microsoft, and that was launched earlier on in 2020. So 3 years on, they release a business voice package for small businesses. And when I say small businesses, up to 300 users, Microsoft class as a small business. So it's pretty significant. Now, the small business package, the business voice add-on, can be added on to the Microsoft 365 Business Standard License pack for Office 365 Office Suite. And if you get that license, then the price drops by almost half, which is pretty amazing. But getting from the enterprise license downgrading to the business voice license was the real challenge for me. I couldn't work it out. There was no documentation on how to do it. They just said, well, if you're on this license, you can pay that price. Now, when you do the comparison, they're very similar. A lot of our requirements are available on both sets of licenses. So I thought, well, that's a good move. But again, lack of documentation from Microsoft on this one, David, was the real challenge. So my blog really takes us exactly through those steps, how to de-risk the situation and save that 48% that's available to anyone in that situation.
Yeah, that really is an important point. Microsoft haven't made this abundantly clear. How you go about that migration, and there'll be a lot of businesses out there with those E3 or E5 licenses, and wondering, am I paying too much? Maybe they're not even asking themselves that question. We don't know. So knowledge is a bit thin on the ground. So if you are in that position, I suggest you go and have a look at that blog. It is fascinating, and it gives you that first-hand experience of someone that's gone through that process. So, Rob, what have we got next?
We said we'd talk about super agents today. Now, I haven't got my Superman t-shirt on, but we did release a story this week on Cisco's and the Cisco's contact center solution and the next generation of contact center agents. So yeah, super agents, David. What did you think to that story?
Yeah, so super agents, I think, we know customer experience is going to be the new battleground for a lot of brands. The agent space is changing. We're seeing new technology coming into the space, particularly AI, taking away those low value, frequent inquiries that we all see via a number of different methods. We're also seeing AI pushing new and exciting interaction data to these agents so they can have more meaningful interactions with their customer, those higher value interactions. So these super agents, really, they are changing. Are we going to start looking for different types of skills? I think so. I think we're going to be needing those empathy skills, those soft human skills, which perhaps weren't synonymous with hiring super agents. And that's going to play into all sorts of different areas, and particularly in from a training perspective as well. How are we going to train up this new workforce of super agents, and particularly with couple that with the millennial generation coming through as well. We know how they like to communicate. And we've got Gen Z coming up behind those people as well. So it's going to be an interesting time for the agent. What's your take on that, Rob?
Yeah, the contact center game is changing big time, going through a lot of transformation right now. I think we've all got to, as organizations, live up to that kind of Tesla and Apple standard nowadays. And, when I spoke to Zach Taylor, who's the director of strategic communications at Cisco Contact Center Solutions, he made a good point, and he was talking about kind of, augmenting agents with additional information, as you say, bringing context, using AI technology to conversations. So you imagine, the typical use case might be, you call into a contact center, you've spoken to an agent, you've explained your situation, and they've got to transfer you to someone else. Well, the typical, scenario is, you get through to the other agent and you've got to repeat yourself all over again. Well, he was saying that actually what the AI could do is actually transcribe the first conversation and then actually pass that through to the second agent you speak to bring that context straight to the conversation. Which I think, from a customer experience point of view, is potentially fantastic if that works. And, as we kind of think about moving from digital channels to voice channels and back and forth, I think, AI can potentially really help, customer experience and the agent be more productive. So I think it's great. Lots happening on that front. And Cisco's got some pretty cool announcements coming up. They wouldn't tell me what they are, but they said they've got some big announcements coming up at WebEx One, which is their annual collaboration event on December 9th.
Excellent. So what have we got next?
Next story and final story, I think we said. We're talking about VR in collaboration, so virtual reality. Now, this is pretty close to my heart. I love virtual reality right now. I love augmented reality and mixed reality, and I think the kind of overarching term right now is extended reality. But there's so much happening in that space, and as you delve a bit deeper, you come to realize that it's really going to affect our lives, working lives especially, in the future. So we released a story this week. It's Emerging Tech Month on UC Today, and we said we could just run through the benefits of actually virtual reality in the collaboration space. So, David, you read that story. What did you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm probably not quite the early adopter you are, Rob, when it comes to VR, but I can see it coming. There are use cases and there are benefits for using it. The collaboration space is going to be changed significantly when this technology becomes a bit more mainstream. So the kinds of benefits we're talking about in this feature are improved focus. We're all at home, sitting in our various, sitting rooms. I'm in an outhouse at the moment. You're in an office at home. We've got families. We've got, pets and postmen ring the doorbell. Focus at times, can be a struggle. That's one of the benefits VR really brings to the table, is that ultimate focus. You're not looking around at, mobile phones going, email alerts and all the rest of it. It puts you in a space to do some really high value sort of focused work, which is great. So you've got no distractions. There's none of this. We're all doing a lot of video calls at the moment. I'm sure we've all had that moment where a text message or an email's come in and we're just sneakily put ourselves on mute and going, oh, I'll just deal with that as someone else is talking in this meeting. With VR, you can't do that. It allows you to be incredibly present in the moment, which leads to ultimately better collaboration overall. So I think that's it's got an interesting future there for sure. So we're going to see some improved communication experiences across the board, because you don't have the same sort of boundary issues in an enclosed sort of VR space as you might do in the real world. Rob, what's exciting you about VR, particularly in collaboration?
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you said, the word presence. I think that's what everyone's craving right now. We've all gone home to work. We're all looking through screens now at people like we are now. It's a pretty 2D flat screen experience. And what VR brings to the game is more kind of a 3D experience where we can feel more immersed in the conversation or in the meeting. So in the collaboration space, it's pretty interesting because you could be whiteboarding, you could be sharing files, you could be brainstorming ideas in a VR environment, which, if you've got access to a VR headset, I'd certainly recommend something like the Oculus Quest 2, which has just come out for under £300 now from Facebook. So it really is going mass market. You can try these now, put the apps on in just a couple of minutes, just like a smartphone, and try some of this out. I mean, it's pretty impressive. But I just think it's next gen. It's where we're heading. It's, extended reality is really paving the way, to the next kind of generation collaboration experience for, in the workplace. So very exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. I do think it is bringing the benefits of a real world face-to-face interaction and making it digital. And I think that can only be a good thing. So we're at the end of today's show. We wanted to leave you with another survey question. We've been talking about Microsoft Teams and E3 and E5 licenses today. So we want to ask you, have you thought about or considered downgrading your E3 or E5 license to Business Voice? And if so, how has that gone for you? Has that gone well, not so well, or terribly? We're calling it good, bad, or ugly. You'll find the survey on Rob Scott's LinkedIn. So make sure you go over there. We'd really like you to get involved with this, because the more information we get, the better picture we all have. So that's it from us. I hope you've enjoyed today's news update. And if you've liked today's show, please give us a bit of a like and a share on social media. I'm David Dungay.
And I'm Rob Scott.
Thanks for watching.